What's up guys, it's your boy Buff back with another one. Today I'll be sharing some tips and tricks in Khazan, the First Berserker. Let's get into it. Now the first tip that I'm gonna share is separate your enemies. Try your utmost best to isolate the enemy that you're fighting. It's going to be a lot easier to fight against one enemy instead of trying to fight against multiple enemies at the same time, like what I'm doing right here. As you can see, I've already dispatched this guy and now I'm going in to dispatch the next guy, and I did so with relative ease. Also, when you do that, you know that you don't have to worry about an enemy attacking you from behind or basically trying to shoot you or do some type of bullshit while you're going through. However though, if you're fighting against guys like those, they can be dispatched like pretty easily, so I say bring them on. I'm gonna also show you why gear in this game doesn't really matter, because the essence of Khazan is basically finding gear that's right for you and leveraging that gear to the mechanics of the game in order to get the full advantage out of it. Now the next tip I'm gonna tell you is to always look around. There can be some things that you can use in order to gain the upper hand on the enemies that you're facing. For example, these purple stones, when you hit them, they explode, and the enemies that are wrong the explosion, they go into an exhausted state straight away. So look at that. I'm gonna just run up and dispatch these two enemies pretty quickly, pretty easily, and now I'm having my little one-on-one with this guy because he's the most dangerous guy there, and it's going to make your life a lot easier if those two guys don't interrupt the fight. And also, why is also a good thing to always look around. You can find stuff, because I've found like numerous soul stones just looking up while I'm going through an area. Now I'm gonna show you, or I'm gonna tell you why gear in this game really doesn't matter. I've got the Crouch Dream Spear, which has the ability Confront. Now Confront activates when you're facing one enemy at a time, so it's good for bosses, and it's also good for that strategy that I spoke of earlier, where you're basically separating those enemies as you're going through the area. All of that magic happens because of the stun jar. The stun jar eliminates the need to have the full set in order to get that set bonus. Plus, you can see my character is at level 240 and my gear is a mixture of like 200 and something, and my armor basically is only like at 100 and something, and I'm beating bosses and I'm getting through the game quite easily, to be honest with you. The magic of the stun jar is the fact that it also works with the necklace and the ring. So I've got the strategist ring. It gives me a 50% damage reduction, and the necklace basically only gives me a greater bring dodge damage. Nothing much, to be honest with you, but it works with my playstyle. Now I mean, you can leverage gear in order to like basically melt through bosses, but at the end of the day, what's the point of playing the game and actually learning the game and playing it if all you really want to do is just like speed run it? If you're interested in like speed running the game, then yeah, but I suggest that you actually learn the mechanics, right, and you find a weapon that suits your playstyle and suits the way that you like to approach combat. Now I like to apologize because I did my whole first playthrough without even noticing that you can turn off the helmet visibility. I did a review of Khazan earlier and I said that the developers should have added that feature, and it was actually in the game the whole time and I did not know. The reason being is because in all Souls like games, it's like right there in the item menu or in the weapon menu, and I didn't find it there, so I thought that the game didn't have it. But lo and behold, just looking around, I actually found it. So yeah, I felt a bit stupid there. But anyway, moving on. Use your NPCs. This is my next tip. This NPC right here, you can extract Lakima from gear that you don't want anymore. You can augment your gear, and you can change your gear attributes like what I'm doing right now. My approach to battle, I like to jump in head first and then deal with whatever problem that arises as I'm fighting, So I like to have as much health and as much stamina as I can if I'm caught off guard by an attack from a boss or whatever enemy that I'm facing. But of course, you can change the attributes to your play style, and this NPC allows you to do that, so use them. Definitely don't sleep on this guy because he sells useful stuff. For example, I buy stuff from him in order to augment the gear that I already have, because you can change your gear attribute like I showed you, but you really don't know what you're gonna get. Although yes, there's a window on the side that shows you all the possibilities, but those are possibilities. You're actually rolling the dice on it. You're not guaranteed to get the attribute that you like. So if you already have a gear with the attribute that you already want and you already like and you're loving that gear, it's best to just augment the gear in order for that gear to match your character's level. Oh, the smithy. He's the guy that I use the least, to be honest with you, because in Khazan you're bound to find gear. You're bound to find gear from looting chests and from defeating bosses. So him, what I use him for is to craft consumables like earth enhancer, poison enhancer, water enhancer, stuff like that, because when applied to your weapon they give you a damage bonus, and that's pretty good, and they can come in clutch when you need them against tough bosses. So use this guy as well. I forgot to add the jar merchant to this footage. However, if you do the side quests, you're bound to find him, and I only bought the stone jar because it gives me an extra 10 on proficiency. However, you buy whatever jar that scales with the weapon that you're using. Lastly, I wanted to show off a boss battle with the gear that I got to further emphasize the point that gear in this game really doesn't matter. As you can see, I only got the bard set, and the only advantage of the bard set is 20% lacquer gain. That's it. Nothing flashy, nothing too over the top. It's just 20% lacquer gain. Now, some people say that this game is pretty hard, and I've said that at one point, but I've actually changed my perception of it. I think that this game is at the appropriate difficulty for the genre that it's in, as opposed to a game, let's say Elden Ring. In Elden Ring, the only thing that you can do is dodge through attacks, and Elden Ring has what you call lock frame, so even if you perfectly time your dodges, you can still get a hit, and that's pretty crappy. People are calling that the best game or the best RPG of all times, and I cannot agree. And it needs to be said, I know some people might want to crucify me for that, but it's true. I wouldn't even call myself a great player. I would say that I'm an average player, or slightly above average at best, and I'm still having a lot of fun with this game, and I love it. Therefore, I know other people can see the beauty and also have a lot of fun, just like myself. That said, I'm gonna leave y'all so y'all can enjoy the rest of this boss fight and catch me on the next one. This has been Buff, this has been Rasta Gaming. Catch me on the next one. Peace out.